being revolutionized like never before. Artificial intelligence and digitization are substituting many of the jobs that used to make a pillar of our society. At the same time, we're waking up. Our mode of work changes from competition to collaboration, from simply making stuff to more purpose-driven products and services, from elite ownership concepts to a greater sense of shared belonging. Where are we going? What is the future of work? And what's the human role in it? Come along on a journey and explore work in the future. Discover talents we didn't know we have, skills we have yet to learn and to develop, and exchange ideas on what working together in the future may look like. I'm Nicolette DeVidar. Let's talk about the paradigm shift of work in workplace.SHIFT, a program that looks into the future of work and the human role in it, launching on Channel 10 in Washington, D.C. See you there. And here we are. New world, new work. Remember those 4 words. We're going to hear them a lot in the next few years to come. Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Nicolette DeVidar and this is workplace.SHIFT. Only 1 in 5 employees say they find a purpose in the work they do. That leaves the majority of us in a seemingly pretty unhappy state, particularly in a time when life and work are intertwined. In most cases, that translates unhappy at work to unhappy in life. With artificial intelligence and digitization conquering increasingly our day-to-day jobs, we're not only changing what we do and how we work, but we also begin to question why. So is the quest for purpose an added boost of the digital age? Can purpose match paycheck? This is what I want to talk about with my guest, Rachel Loock, Assistant Director, Career Coaching, Programming and Outreach of the Executive MBA program at Smith School of Business at University of Maryland. She's also a leadership coach and an instructor and a frequent contributing writer to the Washington Post and WAMU on career-related topics. Welcome, Rachel, on the show at workplace.SHIFT. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Nicolette. Thanks for having me.
So, Gallup did a survey and reported that only 1 in 5 people find meaning in their work. Those numbers were actually the result of a survey which was predominantly done in Europe. However, in my line of work, I noticed that about 9 out of 10 people I'm talking to mention as the primary reason as to why they want to change jobs, this is because they're looking for something that has more impact or to find a deeper purpose. Are you noticing this new drive for more meaningful work among executive MBA students as well?
I am. I've been in my role for about 5 years, and I've noticed that more in the last couple years, I would say. Students and potential students are looking for a way to make a greater impact, make a difference within their communities, organizations, and even more broadly on a global scale as well.
What are sort of the leading primary reasons for most of the executive MBA students to actually do an MBA at that stage?
Sure.
And what is, just to clarify, what are the age ranges?
Absolutely. We have students in our executive MBA program ranging from early to mid-30s into their 50s, with most students kind of falling in the late 30s to early 40s range. So that's kind of the age range of our typical student. And the reasons that most of our students, well, they vary. Our students come from a wide variety of backgrounds. And essentially, the reason they decide to pursue an EMBA is to enhance their leadership skills. They often want to make a career transition. They want to expand their network. They may want to start their own business, or start their own nonprofit with a social responsibility type of a focus. So they may also want to start their own business. So there are many reasons for wanting to begin to enroll in the MBA. Sometimes they want to build on the business skills they have, and sometimes their undergrad degree or what they started off with in their career isn't what is going to prepare them for that next step to the next level to rise to the ranks of senior leadership.
Are there, though, several students in there where you realize that they really seek a change in their career because their values have changed and they're going to go in a different direction?
Absolutely. Oftentimes they find that they reach a stage in life where their values don't align with the organization, or what they're doing no longer resonates with what motivates them and interests them.
What are the main values the students are seeking when they come out of having had several years at work? So when they come out, what are the more dominant values they are seeking?
Oftentimes it's an opportunity to give back. Oftentimes it's the opportunity to mentor or make a broader impact beyond just kind of a small circle, if you will. They really seek the opportunity to collaborate, and our eMBA program provides that opportunity to collaborate with a broad network across industries, across sectors, and partnerships and relationships they build throughout the program stay with them for life. So that's a value they can continue to live after they graduate from the program.
You mentioned collaboration. So collaboration really is a big word in the digital age, as you know. We're moving much more from a more structured way of working to a more collaborative work environment. Has this seeking for collaboration, or for that skill to collaborate, changed a little bit among the applicants in recent years?
I think there's a greater awareness that for the need for it. So I think the need was always there, but applicants and current students realize they need to be able to persuade and influence others, even if those individuals don't report to them. If they're going to make an impact within their organization, how do you get that buy-in? How do you get the work done through other individuals, through other departments, if they don't report to you? So that collaboration and that ability to build relationships is really huge.
You mentioned the word impact. So in my work, I often come across people who say they are seeking more impact and they want more meaningful work. But when I ask them, what does that look like? How do you know when you have impact, and how would that make you feel differently than before? Very often, or very few people actually know how to answer that or are prepared to answer that. So my question is, do you think that this quest for more purpose or more meaningful work is more a driver from our unconscious, from the inner self that sort of comes up and say there's more to life than what we think there is?
Sure.
Or is this something that is more driven by ego, that simply wants more acceptance, more acknowledgement, more simply being known as in the workforce?
I would say it comes from an inner place. Certainly ego plays a part, but I believe that some people are very clear on their purpose and their what that impact looks like to them. Others maybe aren't clear on it, but they know something's missing. So when they come to the program, they're hoping that will help them determine what that is.
When students come and ask you for guidance, how do you help them recognize what that purpose they're seeking could be? Is there a starting point?
There is a starting point. I get to know the student a little bit first. We use different assessments that will provide a baseline for information. However, I ask students to really reflect upon what were some of their most successful accomplishments? What were they doing? Who were they working with? What was the subject matter? Why was it important that they were involved with this project? So oftentimes reflecting on those kinds of things, it may not answer that purpose question immediately, but it begins to get someone thinking and reflecting upon why that's important.
That was really a great answer, and it also takes us right over to our next segment, because I believe that work is not only changing how we work, but also how we define work and how we feel about work and what role work actually has in each of our lives. Before we're going into the break, here's a quote about the definition and the role of work and how work contributes to the greater whole. The quote is from Khalil Gibran from the book, The Prophet. "You work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons, and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite. When you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say to you that when you work, you fulfill a part of earth's furthest dream, assigned to you when that dream was born. And in keeping yourself with labor, you are in truth loving life. And to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's most inmost secret. You have been told also that life is darkness, and in your weariness you echo what was said by the weary. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge. And all urge is blind, save when there is knowledge. And all knowledge is vain, save when there is work. And all work is empty, save when there is love. And when you work with love, you bind yourself and to one another and to God. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. Work is love made visible. So here's food for thought as we redefine the role of work in the digital age. When we come back, we talk about toxic work environments. Is your work environment toxic or simply undergoing transformation? Find out how to spot the difference and what to do about it. Stay tuned.
Toxic work environment is one where you don't have the opportunity to grow in the environment and learn from the environment that you're in. I think, especially for the younger generation, we want to get the training and the skills to make the workplace better. And if we don't have that room for growth and or the role models that we want, then it becomes a bit stagnant, I think.
Uncomfortable space where people can't do their best work.
Welcome back to Workplace Shift. I'm Nicolette DeVidar. Toxic work environments seem to be at an all-time high. Is your work environment toxic or simply undergoing transformation? And what can you do about either one of them? This is what I'll talk about with my guest, Rachel Loock, Assistant Director of Career Coaching at the Executive MBA at Smith School of Business at University of Maryland, in the second half of the show. We'll talk about new skills as well as obstacles to navigate through this brave new world that is emerging. Rachel, welcome back.
Thank you.
Toxic work environments is at an all-time high, and it certainly seems to be also an all-time toxic topic, isn't it?
It is.
A lot of people that I encounter are feeling that the need for them to change is also because they want to run away from a toxic work environment. And actually, when you look at the increasing burnout rate, this is not a big surprise. However, not all environments really are toxic, because as a lot of organizations are undergoing transformation, sometimes it's hard to spot the difference. I would like to talk a little bit about how can you differentiate toxic from an environment that is transforming? And why would that be different?
I would say that a toxic environment, it's an overriding culture that negatively impacts your ability to do your job. And this is on a day-to-day basis. We all have bad days from time to time, but is it an environment that impacts your ability to feel good about what you're doing? Is there a lot of negativity there? Is there a lot of backbiting and gossip and people working at cross purposes? You know, I'd say those are characteristics of a toxic environment. Did you want me to address those in change, cultures in change, or?
Let's talk a little bit about the toxic part.
Sure.
I come across a lot of organizations where you hire a lot of new people with fresh ideas and fresh thinking, and they're hired as innovators. So when they're brought on, they would like to contribute with their ideas and changing a lot of the things. So then you have the long-time tenured people that sometimes then just block everything, you know, from those new people coming in. So very often you have a situation where you have an environment that seems toxic, but it is more because of the ambiguity and the uncertainty versus the actual toxic part. How can someone really spot a toxic environment when they go in, or figure out what is toxic to them versus just being in flux and in change?
Absolutely. Well, I think first of all, you want to do your homework up front. To the extent that you can during the interview process, speak with people who are current employees, former employees. You won't find that information on a company's website, likely. So find out about the organization first so you know what you're getting into. Once you get there, to distinguish if it's toxic or changing, observe. Do the employees band together for a common purpose? Is there an openness to new ideas? It may be a generational change. There may be changes going on within an industry. But if you're in a situation where the people you're interacting with and engaging every day continues to be negative, and there isn't any support for new ideas or innovation, chances are it might be time to look elsewhere.
So what are the options then? Let's talk a little bit about the options, what you can do when you find yourself in a toxic work environment. And I presume that also makes a difference between if you're sort of only at the start, so entry level, or if you are at a point where you're mid-career, or if you are later on in your career, the options might be a lot more limited than for a starter, for example. What can you do about a toxic work environment?
I would say early career, learn as much as you can about the organization, contribute as positively as you can. It's easier to make a job shift earlier in your career than it is sometimes at mid or later career. If you have looked inward and made all the changes that you can control, and you still find the environment is toxic and leaving you feeling physically or mentally drained, it's probably time to move on.
You mentioned a very important point, so looking inwards. A lot of people think that the best course of action automatically is to leave an organization and run away. But what happens to a lot of the people is then they leave one toxic environment, they go to a new place, they're all excited about this, only to find out that when they get there, they find themselves exactly in the same situation again.
Absolutely.
So what do you have to do? When is it time to look inwards and sort of see, you know, what can I do to change versus simply packing your bag and going to another job?
Absolutely. I think that looking inward piece is important, and it's important to reflect during the course of the day or the week, what behaviors are you exhibiting that are maybe contributing to the toxicity? Are you contributing to the negativeness? Are you a naysayer? Are you gossiping about coworkers? Are you automatically dismissing a project that's a new idea? So I think the first step is to look at your own behavior. How are you showing up? How are you coming to work situations, either individually with coworkers or in group or team meetings?
That's definitely a good point. What would you say is a critical skill to have in dealing with a toxic environment?
I say direct communication is key, and whether you're working with your coworkers or with your boss, get clarity on what the expectations are. It's better to deal with a small problem before it snowballs into a bigger problem. Again, if it's an issue of workload or maybe competing priorities, speak to your supervisor or whomever you need to speak to get clarity on what is the top priority. If you've done that and the situation hasn't changed or improved, it might be time to move on. But if you don't look inward and your first inclination is to pack your bags and leave, you may find yourself again in the same situation that you were before.
But what are you going to do if your boss is the toxic one?
That's tricky. And I go back to direct communication. Ask your boss how you can help them. How can you make them succeed? How can you help them succeed? As well as share your own professional goals. Sometimes that's not a conversation that's held all at once. Sometimes those are multiple conversations. But I think giving it a try in numerous settings, and again, if it continues to fall on deaf ears, then it's time to go.
So Rachel, how can you make sure that your chances to end up in another toxic environment are actually decreasing and you're not repeating sort of the same pattern?
Absolutely. I think the thing to think about is really look inside and look at are your behaviors maybe contributing to some of that toxicity. Observe how you respond in a situation. Are you aware of your emotions? Are you responding in anger or with a quick temper when maybe it isn't necessary? So I think really looking inside of you. I think another thing that's important is keep your network strong. Oftentimes having colleagues outside of your organization, connecting with them can be a great reality check to find out, is it my organization? Is this pervasive in the industry? Or maybe it is me. Once you examine some of those things, maybe jumping ship isn't the answer, but maybe doing some work on your own is a place to start.
That's a very important point, and I think as we go forward in the digital age, particularly where everything is being made more visible, and people have to become a lot more aware of their emotions, their reactions, what pushes their buttons, etc. What would you say is a critical skill to have in this digital age where everything is becoming more visible and going forward, particularly in dealing with a toxic work environment?
I say it's a skill that's always been needed in the workplace, and that's communication, being a strong communicator and a direct communicator. Whether it's with your boss or coworkers, get to the root of the problem, understand where someone else is coming from, where can you find common ground. That to me seems to be the best place to start to avoid conflict or resolve a conflict before it escalates to a bigger problem.
Yeah, those are very, very good points. I guess if I had something to add, I would probably add the ability to detach and take on more of an observant role.
Absolutely.
So when you, as you said, like you have to become aware of your emotions. So when you're aware of your emotions, I find it extremely helpful if you can actually step back and detach and not identify with that particular feeling that kind of gets you all excited and raved up, because I think learning how to transform emotions is probably one of the most poignant and important skills in this new age as we're going forward, where everything is being made a lot more transparent. So let me ask you, have you been in a toxic work environment?
Yes, but it's been a long time ago.
Okay.
I'm in a great environment right now.
That's awesome. It happens to almost everyone, and I think it's really important to kind of cope with that. What would you tell people as to how can they set their mindset on when they go to work, they know it's a toxic place? How do they sort of get their mind around the fact that they're going to have to go in there tomorrow? And how can they equip themselves a little bit to really take this step by step in moving forward?
I think the first place to start is self-care. Make sure you take care of yourself. That means exercise, eat right, get enough rest, if you know you have to face that on a day-to-day basis. Keep your skills strong, stay up to date with technology, keep a strong network, focus on those external relationships, because those are likely will be what will save you and where opportunities will come your way if you do decide to leave.
That's a great ending. And we are at the end of our episode here. If you want to read a little bit more about toxic work environments and also about finding more purpose in your work, you can go to our website, www.workplace.SHIFT.us. You can also leave us your comments on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Next episode, we'll talk about interview automation and show you how to prep for an interview with a robot. It is coming. See you then.